Good morning. Just wanted to give a little overview of the Cafe Flyer biplane before it goes on its maiden flight. Maybe a half an ounce over 1 pound, fully loaded and ready to fly. It's made from about 3.5 sheets of 6mm Depron, obviously white. And the power plant is a Grayson Hobby Microjet V2 with a 6.4 APC prop. And let's take a look inside the battery compartment, and you can see an Electrofly 30 amp speed controller. And let's go ahead and put the battery in. And notice I've got a tunnel slot for the battery to go into so that I can adjust the center of gravity to exactly where I need it to be. Let's get that back. We'll shut this just for aesthetics for the time being. And notice that I've got the speed controller mounted right next to some vents so that as it heats up, the air is going to flow through from both sides and then out the top to keep it from overheating. And I did do a traditional sort of RC Powers plywood mount, and then I just made sure that there were some fins to glue the plywood mount onto, and so the motor can come off without taking the mount off. Cafe Flyer because if you'll notice here, I needed some reinforcement here, and I went to a Starbucks and another local cafe and borrowed some wooden coffee stirrers. So it's a little tight in here, but you can see the radio compartment and the high-tech servos, and there's the servo for the elevator and rudder, and there. And then the Futaba fast receiver with the short antenna. This is 2.4 gigahertz. And I tried to keep things pretty clean, and I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. And notice these magnetic closures that I got from some packaging for a bike light. So it's pretty strong little magnets. So anyway, that's an overview of the features. You can see the external high-tech servos for the ailerons, and notice I marked the center of gravity on the port side and also on the starboard side so that I can always check the weight balance. And so I've got the dental floss going around the carbon fiber, so I used a needle and thread to make sure that as the dental floss came through, it wrapped around a carbon fiber rod. And then there's a little plastic sleeve, I don't know if it'll come out on the video, to keep the carbon fiber from pulling through the foam. And so while we're here, let's look at the landing gear. I got a sheet of thin PVC plastic, and you can see that when the plane lands, you're going to have some force on it, and then the force is taken up by this plastic sheet, and it should transfer the impact to the fuselage without tearing the foam, but I guess it depends on my landing. And it's just some piano wire, some servo wire, and it's bendy, and if it gets bent on a landing, then I can bend it back into shape, and if that's not strong enough, then I'll get some thicker wire. So you heard the startup tones from the controller, so it was kind of a shock the first time I heard that. I'm like, it's the motor singing. So shut the battery compartment, and that's pretty stable. And we just want to do a quick test of what I think is one of the coolest features is the steerable tail wheel. And this may be it's one of my favorite features because it's the first time I'd actually put one together. And notice as I steer the rudder, turn the rudder, the rear wheel turns as well. Just taking that after, I guess, the park flyer. And it's really simple. It's just connected to the same, the same attachment to the rudder. It'll move the rudder and the tail wheel off the same servo. So anyway, I guess one other, let's do an aileron check. So those seem to be working, and the aileron runs the whole width of the wing. And let's check the elevator. So that looks good. And the only other feature, I don't know if I'm going to try this on the maiden flight, but I do have the flap switch actuated so that I can hopefully get a nice slow landing. So anyway, video's running kind of long. Let's do a quick thrust and steering check.
We are live in Sausalito with Rob and the biplane. And Rob, what's happening at this exciting moment of time?
This is the first test of